Traveling through the wilderness and primitive world, with the assistance of a system, with the addition of a system, is considered an official standard configuration. But I accidentally killed the system and made myself a reduced lead character. Fortunately, leaving behind a totem spirit can control the tribe. So, Xia Tuo became the tribal chieftain, starting from a non-mainstream tribe and gathering together as Xia. He worshipped the heavens and cast 9 cauldrons, gradually farming and developing from the tribe to the dynasty, and then to the supreme imperial court. PS Group number 421980016. Keywords of the novel: The Strongest Tribe of All Time without pop-ups. Download the complete TXT collection of The Strongest Tribe of All Time, and read the latest chapters of The Strongest Tribe of All Time. Chapter 1, Host Please Discretionary. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1, Host Please Discretionary. Becoming the leader of a tribe, becoming the largest tribe in the frontier within 100 years, if not completed, annihilate. In the dim and damp cave, Xia Tuo leaned against the stone wall, his mind buzzing with melon seeds. He has traveled through time. Leaning against the stone wall with a disfigured expression, his mind buzzing with sunflower seeds, and an indelible sound swirling in his ears, deepening this confusion. Becoming the leader of a tribe, becoming the largest tribe in the frontier within 100 years, if not completed, annihilate. Hiss. He lightly lifted his right hand and touched the area on the right side of his forehead. A large blood-colored lump was covered in blood scabs, and the intense pain made him take a deep breath. However, he continued to lower his hand and pressed it again. Hiss. This taste is simply amazing. Painful and happy, always feeling the pain and pleasure. There's nothing I can do. The problem I had when I was a child is that whenever a wound from a fall or collision forms a scab, I can't control myself and have to use my hands to buckle it, feeling both painful and satisfying. Becoming the leader of a tribe, becoming the largest tribe in the frontier within 100 years, if not completed, annihilate. At this point, my parents should have noticed that I was hanging at home. The voice that kept coming from his ear made him a little angry, and he cursed, "I'm satisfied to live 100 years. You can step back. The system. You should commit suicide, don't delay me from finding a place to stay." Xia Tuo. In the end, he decided to ignore this lunatic. He had been locked up in this dim and damp cave, with arm-thick vines wrapped around his feet, obviously afraid that he would run away. The money in the account is enough for parents' retirement, and the big brother and little sister are filial to each other. Thinking of this, Xia Tuo's decadent expression slightly lit up his spirits. Although he didn't buy much Bitcoin, he coincidentally saved a batch of graphics cards and memory modules in the first 2 years. I have already died once. If I don't die again, let's see if I can travel back. It's best to go back a few years and get some Bitcoin, or try a pancake fruit instead. In the end, he dispelled this idea. He thinks it's better to go back to the 1990s and speculate, maybe he can also become the pig in the wind that Ma's father once said. Dr. Ma Xiangdong and director Lu Huatang, who went back to 1993 next door, directly set up a stall in Hong Kong and set up a Ma Huangpu, which is much better than having Mr. Zhao buy the entire venue. Put it on yourself and give it a try. Just think about it and it will be beautiful. Keep thinking about it and it will always be beautiful. Hiss. I couldn't help but touch the wound on my forehead with my hand again. The intense pain brought Xia Tuo back to reality, the damp and dark cave, the insects drilling back and forth in the soil, and the animal skin that was torn to the point of being almost bald. By the way, there was also a taro-like object with dirt on its feet, about the size of a fist, with several clear tooth marks remaining on it. This was his meal. The cave entrance was blocked by a huge rock, with only some gaps on the edge and some light shining in. He was imprisoned and committed a major crime in the tribe. 2 days ago, a totem was worshipped in the tribe, and its predecessor, who was willing to die, collided with the totem pole. The scar on his head was left behind at that time. For all members of the tribe, totems are the spiritual symbol of the entire tribe and a means of survival on this wild land. Such actions are no different from jumping on graves. At that time, a group of big men rushed forward like crazy to take down their predecessors, ravaged them and threw them into this cave. However, their predecessors did not support them, and then they came to this world. Now I am waiting for death, the difference is what kind of death method it is. However, according to Xia Tuo's speculation, it should have been set on fire and burned. Then a group of people gathered outside the fire and danced, shouting loudly. Burning it is not bad, it's better than being eaten. Burning ashes can also nourish the earth. Exciting, Xia Tuo patted himself. Eating can also nourish the earth. Ah! He curled up on the ground for a long time before taking a deep breath. The problem of his wound scabbing must be corrected. Cannot die. It's embarrassing to die as soon as I cross over. Hey, how can I complete tasks when I die? How can I become the most powerful tribe in the frontier? Think of a way. Only by becoming the leader of the tribe can this system be activated. Considering the host's current situation, it is recommended that the host self-intervene. Don't waste everyone's time. Xia Tuo's mouth twitched and he said with hatred, "Why did I kill you?" Suggest the host to self-regulate and show mutual understanding. Roaming and rumbling. At this moment, the stone blocked outside the cave was pushed, and the light suddenly shone into the cave, making Xia Tuo, who was curled up on the ground, somewhat uncomfortable. The sound of footsteps was thumping, and a sturdy figure appeared. The witch asked you to go to the river to attract river beasts and buy time for the water collection team. Xia Tuo quickly realized that this should be the punishment for offending the totem in the tribe. In the remaining memories, there are many black-bellied crocodiles living in the river outside the tribe, and anyone who goes to the river will be attacked by them. The number of people who fetch water by the river every year is second only to the death toll of tribal hunting teams. This is to use them as bait to reuse the dead. At least they are of the same ethnicity, surprisingly so cold-blooded. Of course, he just thought about it that way. Offending the totem was definitely the biggest crime for the tribe. If he didn't burn it on the spot, it would be very pleasing to the heavens. His predecessor found someone to blame on. It is recommended that the host self-destruct and die with dignity. If I lose my dignity, I won't die. I'm so angry with you. Immediately afterwards, Xia Tuo felt like he was being lifted away. I'll strangle it. Outside the cave, Xia Tuo, who was feeling a bit uncomfortable under the sunlight, looked up at the sky and couldn't resist it. On the sky, a massive figure stretches across the sky, with 3 legs below and fiery feathers resembling gods, covering a small part of the sky. Is this the sun? Ah bah! This is Jinwu. Xia Tuo, who looked up at the sky at 180 degrees, felt a bit dizzy. Where am I? Who am I? Can you save me some face in this scene? What kind of world is this? It's so crazy, even mice. Oh no, the sun has long legs. Unfortunately, the big guy who was holding onto him didn't pay much attention to his expression changes. He rushed out of the tribe, joined forces with 3 other people, and plunged into the dense jungle. Pop 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 pop. Being carried by someone, leaves and plants kept hitting Xia Tuo's body, making him very uncomfortable. As he got closer to the river, his heart became increasingly uneasy. These people wouldn't just throw him into the river and let the black-bellied crocodile eat separately. I really don't know how to live. This is a one-time deal. I should let go of myself. Maybe I can avoid the crocodile this time and attract it again tomorrow. Giant, dear, fear, go to the river to fetch water. In the dense grass near the river, the strong man carrying Xia Tuo finally spoke. He tried his arm strength with Xia Tuo, and this posture was about to throw him into the river. Really throw it away. Feeling his body shaking, Xia Tua hurriedly shouted, trembling like a madman, almost foaming at the mouth. He doesn't know if he's pretending to be like this, but if he can save his life, it's okay. If he's thrown into the river like this, his ashes won't even have the qualification to nourish the earth. Totem. Totem. The great Totem has given me guidance, let go of me quickly. Her limbs trembled uncontrollably, her body bent up, and she murmured words. Xia Tua struggled hard, and that's how the ghost catcher on TV acted. For those who have finished reading PS, please feel free to cast a recommendation vote. New books need to be recommended. End of this chapter. Chapter 2, Will You Not Dig a Well Without Water, Seeking Recommendation Ticket. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2, Will You Not Dig a Well Without Water, Seeking Recommendation Ticket. Li grabbed Xia Tua and looked, then swung his hand in half a circle, and Xia Tua took off in the air. Shoo! Bang! The river stirred up huge waves, and a group of black shadows rushed up below the surface, causing blood to bloom. Xia Tua. Death. Don't. Looking at the shimmering water surface, Xia Tua was startled and shouted loudly, dispelling the scene of brain damage. This Nima was too terrifying, falling into the river was even more tragic than dismembering a horse, leaving no residue left. The great Totem tells me that there is water in the tribe. After shouting these words, Xia Tua finally felt like he was holding his arm down and several figures surrounded him. It's done. You can't stop pretending to be mischievous, you need to do the whole set of acting. As he had expected, in such a primitive and desolate world, the reverence for totems was like reverence for ghosts and gods. Totem. Totem. The great Totem told me that there is water in the tribe. Go back to the tribe to find the witch. Li grabbed Xia Tua and hurried back towards the tribe. On the way back, Xia Tua was once again kissed by wild grass and branches. Bang! In the central cave of the tribe, Xia Tua, who had long been shaken to the ground, was heavily smashed to the ground. Wu Tua said he has received the guidance of the Totem, there is water in the tribe. Li Zhuangshua's body bowed in a restrained manner, and in front of him was a hunched old man wearing black animal skin, with an old face and wrinkles like mountains and rivers. The old man's body looked very weak, but it filled Li's eyes with awe. At this moment, Xia Tua saw an old man looking towards him and couldn't help but tremble. This was a lingering legacy of his past memories, and he had an inexplicable reverence for witches. Even if he had already passed away, his instinctive reverence still persisted. Looking at the Wu who was looking over, Xia Tua couldn't help but feel a thump in his heart. It's over, it's exposed. His words were enough to deceive Li, but when it comes to the witches in charge of sacrificial ceremonies in the tribe, they appear pale and powerless. In the dark eyes of Wu, there was a flicker of light that was difficult for him to fathom. Everything he thought in his heart seemed to have nowhere to hide in the eyes of the old man in front of him. Fire execution. Xia Tua. I really can't deceive the witch. The bad old man is very bad. If he doesn't have a chance to speak, he will burn him to death. Don't. There's no water to dig a well, dig a well. Dig a well. Dig downwards, dig underground, as long as you dig deep enough, there will be water veins. My family, no, it's the Totem telling me. Well. Wu's eyes flickered with light, and his pronunciation was somewhat obscure. As the most knowledgeable person in the tribe, he still had some confusion about Xia Tua's words. What is a well? Both vertically and horizontally are two. Xia Tua wished he could slap himself, his life hanging on the line. He didn't change his habit of being cheap. Fortunately, this world doesn't have such a saying. He hurriedly made up for it and said, if there's no water, it's not too late to burn me again. In my previous memory, this wild world was rich in resources, with lush vegetation, which was enough to show that the water resources here were very abundant. However, for the people of the tribe, they were not aware of the method of digging wells downwards, or they lacked life skills in this area. The tribe where its predecessor was located did not have a formal title, and in fact, they could not be considered a true tribe at all. They could only be considered a small settlement, with a population of less than 202.5 totem warriors. A few days ago, his totem worship was prepared for the 2 quasi-totem warriors of the tribe, but he destroyed it. Otherwise, he would not have been punished like this and would have been glared at by the tribe. For small tribes like them, each totem warrior is the pillar that supports the survival of the tribe. Xia Tua was carried by Li to the outside of the mountain cave, and many members of the tribe gathered around him, staring angrily at him. Fortunately, Wu walked out of the cave and the people who surrounded him all bowed. A broken stone tool was thrown in front of him, and Li stared at him with wide eyes. Xia Tua spread out his hands, his own feet were bound, and his injuries were not completely healed. His eyes were fixed on Wu. Quickly, under the command of the witch, 2 big men emerged from the crowd, each holding a stone knife. "Dig down there." Xia Tua pointed to the center of the valley, where there grew a tall tree that was thick and thin enough for 5 or 6 people to embrace. The roots of the tree were twisted like dragons, and it was strong and powerful enough to penetrate underground. He also didn't know where there would be water in the valley, so he could only pray not to dig into the rock layer below. Surrounded by mountains on all sides, who knew if there would be a large area of rocks under the soil? While Xia Tua was lost in thought, Ye and Jian were already digging with their stone knives in their hands. Large pieces of soil were flying, and it took more than 10 seconds. The large pit they dug had already covered up their figures, leaving him stunned. Mud, rocks, and tree roots were nothing in the hands of the 2, and all were cut off under the stone knife. 3 meters. 5 meters. 10 meters. Standing above the large pit, Xia Tua looked down. This was the distance he visually measured, and as for the error, it would not exceed 5 meters deep. The diameter of the large pit was 5 or 6 meters, which was also for the convenience of throwing out the soil. And digging pits, no, the number of well diggers has also increased from 2 to 6. It has to be said that the primitive manpower was really sufficient. These are not really totem warriors, they are like excavators. If they could bring back a modern construction team, it would definitely be helpful. Chang! A sound echoed from the pit, making Xia Tuo's heart skip a beat. Done, we've dug up the stone. Under the big pit, the stone knife in Ye's hand plunged downwards, and the dark stone was cut open in front of his stone knife like tofu. Puff! Just as he pulled out his stone knife, a jet of water erupted, reaching over 10 meters high. Water! Under the sunlight, water splashes were colorful and erupted, wetting all the people around the large pit. However, no one dodged, and everyone cheered and howled. Water! 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 Roar, roar! There is really water in the tribe. We have water now. The excited tribe members let the droplets of water spray onto their bodies, kneeling in the mud and howling loudly. Having water means they no longer have to go to the river to compete for water with the black-bellied crocodile, and no more tribe members will be buried in the crocodile's mouth. At this moment, Xia Tuo's body was also drenched with water and covered in mud. However, he breathed a sigh of relief, and the people around him no longer looked at him with anger, but with a hint of gratitude. The water column erupted for about 10 minutes and gradually calmed down. There was too much soil in the well, and the water was very turbid, but this was not a problem. After a while, the water will gradually become clear. For a moment, the entire tribe gathered around and looked towards the bottom of the well, their eyes filled with excitement. All the members of the tribe were cheering, and the witch, who was gathered in the crowd, stared at Xia Tua in her murky eyes, lost in thought. Has the totem really become a saint? End of this chapter. Chapter 3, Good Fang, I Killed the System, for recommendation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Good Fang, I killed the system, for recommendation. At this moment, Xia Tuo did not pay attention to the witch's gaze. He took advantage of the hot iron to brush the favor of the tribe surrounding the well. Build the edge of the well with stones to prevent soil from falling into the well. Circular steps can also be built to facilitate walking down to fetch water. In a hurry, Xia Ruo explained to the tribe how to build stones, how to build steps, and some seemingly simple words. At this moment, Xia Ruo put in a lot of effort to make the people around him understand that it was still the result of demonstrating hand and foot. Having provided a water source in the tribe, his words also convinced people a lot. Several strong men who had jumped into the well to dig before went towards the valley, chiseling mountains and stones. The water pressure under the rock layer is not high, but after the initial eruption, it gradually turns into a gurgling spring. The water surface is only 2 meters high from the bottom of the well, and the impact of the water below can no longer be seen. Follow me. The words of the witch made Xia Tuo stop his movements and follow behind the witch towards the cave. He was covered in mud all over, but his heart breathed a sigh of relief. Now he didn't have to be burned to death. The cave where Wu is located is the largest in the entire tribe, and the totem pole of the tribe is also standing deep in the cave. This place is still fresh in Xia Tuo's memory. The unlucky ghost from his predecessor should be considered as indirectly burping his butt on the totem pole. Becoming the leader of a tribe, becoming the largest tribe in the frontier within 100 years, if not completed, annihilate. At this moment, a voice rang in his ear again, and Xia Tuo followed behind the witch, not daring to show any abnormality, pretending not to hear anything. Did you really communicate with the totem? An old face almost pressed against his own, and Xia Tuo almost jumped up. Watching Wu staring at him, his heart once again hung in his throat. The witch took him to the totem pole deep in the cave. The bad old man is really bad. The totem guided me to find water. After calming down, Xia Tuo still decided to install it. The well had already been dug out, which is an undeniable fact. Even if Wu Xian had doubts, it cannot be denied at the moment. Okay, you are the wisest person, Wu. You must have noticed that I'm not pretending anymore. Let's face it. I am the envoy appointed by the great totem to help the tribe overcome its difficulties. As he spoke, his eyes were filled with piety. He bent towards the direction of the totem pole, muttering something he didn't even know, as long as he couldn't understand it. On top of the totem pole, there was a dark red bloodstain that had dried up, which made him feel the scar on his forehead involuntarily. Xia Tuo's appearance was somewhat uncertain for a moment, beyond his understanding. As Xia Tuo watched Wu walk towards the outside of the cave, he collapsed against the stone wall, as if he had exhausted all his strength. Becoming the leader of a tribe, becoming the largest tribe in the frontier within 100 years, if not completed, annihilate. Xia Tuo sat slumped against the stone wall, squinting his eyes and listening to the sound in his ear. Buzz. There are mosquitoes. He instinctively patted his face. Becoming. Pop. Hiss. Touching the wound, my cheeks twitched, and the whole world suddenly fell silent. It's quiet now. Cool. Big hands gently rubbed against the face. Well, mosquitoes are really big in this world. Take the palm off, it's so flat that the mosquito can't stick to the palm, and there's still a puddle of blood left. Xia Tuo sneered, the young master can't handle that strange voice, and he can't even cure you. There were 2 or 3 mosquitoes the size of beans lying in a pool of blood, and then he saw the flattened mosquito propping up one leg, followed by the other 5 legs also propping up. You dare to kill me, but I am. The mosquito that just stood up fell down. Xia Tuo. I didn't mean it. Xia Tuo looked at the large mosquito lying in the pool of blood and forced, do you believe it? I trust you. Pop. Xia Tuo was stunned. Done. It's completely effortless. I can't control myself. I went. Opening his palm, he saw the mosquitoes in his hand turn into black flames and dissipate. What kind of thing is this? As soon as this idea came to mind, Xia Tuo felt a scorching sensation in his palm, as if he had grabbed the burning iron. It's smoking. Ma Dan, I'm really used to fighting mosquitoes. With a mournful cry, Xia Tuo fell into a daze, and the scorching heat swept through his body, making him feel as if his whole body had been ignited by the fire. My body instinctively twisted, my hands raised high, my body leaned forward, and I made a pilgrimage-like posture. Blue light appeared on my body, and a strange phantom appeared. What is that? In memory, there are totems in the world. People visualize totems and use the imagined totems as a medium to absorb energy floating in the void, refine their own bodies, gain powerful power, and crack rocks in open mountains. In the blue light, there is a deity stepping on two blue dragons, with a human body and a bird face, and two small snakes hanging from its ears. It seemed like in an instant, as if a long time had passed, Xia Tuo's eyes gradually became blurred, like dry firewood burning fiercely before the flames suddenly withered away. The blue light dissipated, his divine form dissolved, and he felt a powerful force wandering within him, sweeping away all his previous weaknesses. Opening his eyes, he saw Wu kneeling on the ground, his eyes flashing with awe. The totem has truly become a saint. Tuo Zhen is really able to communicate totems. At this moment, Wu no longer doubted what Xia Tuo said. Only great totems can make a traumatized person become a true totem warrior in a short period of time. Dare to kill me, I curse you for hanging with this tribe. Suddenly, there was another sound in his ear. Xia Tuo hurriedly looked around and found that Wu was still respectfully worshipping the totem, without any other abnormalities. Obviously, this voice could only be heard by himself. Without my help, you would be dead. Even a true tribe is not a small settlement. Without a totem holy land, the spirit of totems will soon wither. Without my help, how can you integrate the tribe and worship totems? Your blood and totems have merged into one. Wait for death. Xia Tuo arrived at the totem stone pillar and pressed his big hand on the bloodstain on it. The cold stone pillar seemed to have warmth, giving him a feeling of flesh and blood. He sensed a faint, misty blue light gathering deep inside the totem pole, and cracks spread throughout the weathered totem pole, which was about to completely shatter in no time. In the illusory blue light, there are blurred figures curling up, and the strands of blue light turn into threads and spill outwards, gradually disappearing. This feeling gives him a sense of crisis, as if his life is also withering. Totem. No wonder totem warriors haven't been born in the tribe for a long time. The spirit of totem in the depths of the totem pillar is disintegrating and may not last long. When the spirit of the totem dissipates, it is the end of your life. Without my help, you would have died. The gloomy voice echoed in my mind, constantly emitting curses. Are you going to die or not? Xia Tuo slapped his hand on the totem pillar and said fiercely, I won't die, I'm so angry with you. With my last strength, curse you and this broken tribe to perish together. Goodbye. Xia Tuo, I said to your master. For those who have finished reading PS, please feel free to cast a recommendation vote. New books need to be recommended. End of this chapter. After chapter 4, I will become your clan leader, seeking recommendation votes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After chapter 4, I will become your clan leader, seeking recommendation votes. Totems are the source of worship and belief among the people, and they are the basis for the survival of the human race living in the wilderness. Totems unite people and unite them, and they also need to be worshipped. In the true tribe, there is a totem holy land, where totem pillars are cast, worshipped year after year, and blood and food are offered to inspire totems to become holy. The tribe members use this to visualize totems, draw totem marks, and become totem warriors. Therefore, totems can be said to be the most important existence of the entire tribe. Without totems, it is impossible to form a tribe. Even if they are gathered together, they will collapse in a short period of time. In the cave, Xia Tuo leaned against the totem pole and could clearly feel the weakness of the totem spirit, like a faint candlelight that would be completely blown away by a gust of wind. In an instant, a sense of crisis overwhelmed oneself. Once the spirit of the totem collapses, it will also perish. Obviously, it was the system he accidentally killed before his death that caused the incident. Can we blame him for this? There are millions of systems in the world, and what it becomes is not good, but it becomes a mosquito. This is not about finding photos. After a long time, there were no more sounds in my mind, indicating that the unlucky system had completely dissipated. As the devout witch worshipped the totem looked towards her, Xia Tuo's eyes rolled and he said, "The great totem has led my tribe toward strength. Witches are the most esteemed presence in the entire tribe. As long as they are dealt with, it is not a problem to integrate the tribe." Originating from the sense of crisis brought by the totem pole, it made him very uncomfortable, damned the system, and even disgusted him when he died. He sorted out his current situation and found that his predecessor had collided with the totem pole, creating a contractual connection between him and the totem. Even though his predecessor had already hung up, this contractual constraint still fell on him. This world is extremely wild, relying solely on oneself to go out and explore is like seeking death, only holding on to a group. Besides, his little life is still tied to this dying pillar. If he wants to survive, he must first give the totem a new life. It is obviously unlikely for him to rely on himself, although his tribe is pitifully small, it is also the best choice at present. Wu devoutly worshipped the totem pillar again, muttering words that Xia Tuo didn't understand, and walked for a long time before getting up. The totem has become divine, and he naturally believes Xia Tuo's words. Their entire tribe consists of less than 200 people, with broken totems and only 2.5 totem warriors in total. Oh, no, it's 3.5 now, we need to add Xia Tuo. Making people become totem warriors directly is also a great power that only totems can possess. In fact, they are not worthy of being called tribes at all, even for lower-level tribes, the number of people and soldiers is beyond their reach. Next, Wu summoned the other 2.5 totem warriors from the tribe, Hong and Fang, as well as the aging and bloodless Rains. The Rains were the last half of the totem warriors, while Fang was a strong and not weaker female warrior than a man. Faced with the scrutiny of the totem warriors, Xia Tuo once again activated the mode of pretending to be a god and playing tricks on ghosts, triggering the totem pillars to emit a faint blue light, making the 2.5 totem warriors all intimidated, with excitement flashing in their eyes. Accompanied by the witch and totem warriors, Xia Tuo walked out of the cave and gathered the entire tribe's members. Wu walked towards the front and immediately silenced everyone. His eyes scanned the surrounding figures and said, "There is a powerful tribe outside the mountain range, and the tribal leader can match the totem. Now that Tuo matches the totem of the tribe, he is the leader of our tribe. Tuo. Tuo. Leader. Leader. Tuo. Tuo. Tuo." Thanks to digging a well to find the water source, and then surrounded by witches and totem warriors, the resistance of the tribe towards Xia Tuo gradually disappeared, especially after learning that he had also become a totem warrior. Everyone's eyes were filled with awe. Under everyone's gaze, Xia Tuo's eyes lit up and he said, "Call me the chieftain. Leader Shentima, those who don't know think it's a terrorist leader. Chief. Chief. Tuo. Chief. Tuo. Chief. Chief. Leader, leader. Clan leader." As Xia Tuo watched the people around him roar and howl excitedly, he felt that he should wave his hand. "That person who is still called the leader, our clan leader, remembers you." In the crowd, Li Zhuangshuo's body shrank. Following Xia Tuo's reins, with a hunched figure and white temples, he leaned on a wooden cane with several hemp ropes hanging from his right hand, each with a few knots tied to it. At this moment, he pulled out a snow-white and round animal bone from his hair with his left hand, which was 3 inches thick and 3 inches long. He grabbed one of the hanging hemp ropes on his cane, tied the animal bone to it, and then cracked his mouth and smiled. This is a major event in the clan that needs to be recorded. I will be your clan leader from now on. Xia, the fiery chieftain, spoke a few words to the surrounding members of the fiery tribe and walked into the cave with a very unfriendly slap on his buttocks. I have no choice, my heart is too tired. The experience of this day was really exciting. From obtaining the system to killing the system, from being a prisoner to being a tribal chieftain, he pretended to be a god and tricked everyone into it. Don't worry about his fate for the time being. With a lack of energy, he returned to the cave where the witch was located and found a piece of animal skin to wrap around. Sleep. Xia Tua slept soundly this night, dreaming that the spirit of the totem in the depths of the totem pillar had disintegrated, causing the pillar to collapse, and he also followed suit. A stirring spirit awakened Xia Tua from his slumber. If you don't let me go even after death, I won't die. I also need to revive the totem, and if you're angry, you'll be angry again. With a strong wake-up vibe, Xia clan chief opened his eyes and saw an old face almost pressing against his face, almost not shouting. Leader. It's the clan leader. Yes, leader. In the end, Xia Tua decided not to argue with this stubborn old man. The days ahead will be long, and he believes there will be time to bring back the old man Wu. After greeting Wu, Xia Tua walked towards the outside of the cave. Although his predecessor had left some memories, it was also messy. Xiao Ming was also involved in the totem pillar, so it was necessary for him to go and check the situation in the tribe. Looking up at the sky at 180 degrees, the golden bird had already reached the top of the sky, which made Xia Tua couldn't help but sigh again. I didn't see too many people moving around in the tribe. Although he became the leader of the tribe yesterday under the proclamation of the witch, the entire tribe still operates in its original order. The people in the valley were able to survive because of the merits of the witches, so over the years, this group of people has not elected a tribal leader, and it has always been the witches leading the tribe. The hunting team, led by Hong, went out to hunt. The female totem warrior Fang led the strong women in the tribe out of the valley to collect fruits and plant roots. The wellhead in the center of the valley has also been built with stones, and a few people are guarding it. Upon seeing Xia Tuo's arrival, Li, who was guarding the wellhead, felt somewhat bewildered. His mouth opened again and again, but he couldn't speak. In just one day, the small man he held in his hand not only became a tribal leader, but also a totem warrior. Raised the wellhead to prevent the dolls from accidentally falling off. Looking at Li, who was restrained and didn't know what to do, Xia Tua had no intention of retaliation in his heart. After experiencing so much, some things have long been underestimated. Moreover, at present, he needs to integrate the power of the entire tribe. With a small population, how can he break his own arm? Speaking of which, I really wanted to thank Li more yesterday. If it were just another idiot, he wouldn't be indifferent to how he pretended to be, and would just throw it into the river to feed the crocodile. He would have belched long ago. End of this chapter. Chapter 5, which, let's talk about it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 which, let's talk about it. Leader. Call it the clan chief. Clan leader. Watching Li so obedient, Xia Tua nodded in satisfaction. Not bad, there are still materials that can be made in the tribe. What are you doing here? Water, this is. After stuttering for a while, Xia Tua finally understood. No wonder yesterday Li Wu announced that he had become the tribal chieftain, and everyone in the tribe supported him. Water was too precious for the tribe. Previously, the water retrieved from the river could only barely supply the tribe, and the water fetchers were often injured or even killed. Having a well in the tribe is equivalent to saving the lives of the water extraction team. Patting his feet and patting Li's shoulder, Xia Tua began to wander aimlessly in the valley. The valley where they live is slightly narrow, about 60 steps from east to west and 120 steps from north to south. The valley mouth is like a line of sky, which can only accommodate one person to pass through. It is precisely because of this terrain that these people can survive in this mountain range. Of course, he measured it with his big foot, and as for the error, he couldn't say for sure. Anyway, it's just this size, and whoever doesn't believe will measure it. When measuring, he intentionally made his steps about 1 meter in size, so that the area of the valley was not small, which was more than 10 acres in size. The valley is rich in wild grass, and the surrounding rock walls are covered with vines. In the deepest rock walls of the valley, caves of all sizes are carved out, which are the places where the tribal people live. After wandering around the valley and confirming with the remaining memories in his mind, Xia Tua finally had a rough understanding of the tribe. Primitive, backward, barbaric, ignorant. Wearing a fur coat, I don't know how long I've been wearing a piece of clothing. Let's not talk about others, but just myself. After wearing a fur coat for a while, I can't even cover a bird. Eating animal meat that goes out hunting every day, collecting various wild fruits and plant roots and stems, relying solely on luck to eat enough or not. We live in a cave, dark and damp, with snakes, insects, mice, and ants crawling everywhere. We used stone tools such as stone knives, stone spears, and stone sickles. Even slash and burn farming is far inferior. Overall, transportation relies on walking, and communication relies on roaring. Such a tribe is lucky enough to survive in this wilderness. He needs to talk to the witch, and only the witch in the entire tribe has left this mountain range and seen the world outside the mountain range. Continuing with the current days of the tribe, the withering of totems is only a matter of time. He doesn't want to plan his days and wait for death day by day. He must talk to the witch. In the cave. Wu. Entering the cave, Xia Tua bowed slightly to the Wu sitting in front of him. Even during the day, there was still some dimness in the cave, with bonfires burning and phantom flames dancing on the surrounding rock walls. Leader. It's the clan leader. Helplessly, Xia Tua sat by the campfire. The old man was really stubborn. He grabbed something that looked like a taro and stuffed it into the ashes by the campfire. He used a branch to poke at the sparks of grass and trees and buried them. Yesterday's great totem not only gave me guidance, but also made me a totem warrior. At this moment, the essence of the play was possessed, and Xia Tua began to perform. However, I am not familiar with the outside world. Please ask Wu to clarify. Wu watched as Xia Tua walked into the cave and sat down beside him. He had lived for a long time, pursuing the path of witchcraft. He had traveled through the mountains for the sake of witchcraft, but unfortunately, it was still a wild path and did not receive the true inheritance of witchcraft. As he approached his old age, he returned from outside the mountains and gathered these tribe members in the tide of beasts. He couldn't bear them to be buried in the wilderness. It had been almost 10 years in the blink of an eye. Visualize totems, use totems as a medium to absorb external energy, refine oneself, and gain strength to crack rocks and open mountains. This is Totem Warrior, and you are now a Totem Warrior in the Crack Rock realm. Breaking Stone realm. Not bad, this is a general term. It is divided like this outside the Eternal Mountains. The Totem Warriors in the Cracking Stone realm can easily crush the earth and stone, and their power is infused into their flesh and blood. Yao Earth Stone is a very common stone in the wilderness, with a hard texture that is several times harder than ordinary mountain rocks. On the Cracked Stone realm is the Opening Mountain realm, where mysterious powers are generated within the body. To become a true tribe, one needs such strong individuals within the tribe. Crack rocks and open mountains. Xia Tua nodded lightly, his martial arts realm was very easy to understand. After a previously unknown incident, he had become a totem warrior in the Cracked Stone realm. This is a very strange feeling. Once activated, there will be totem patterns appearing on the chest. His totem divine pattern is somewhat different from that of Hong and Feng. Hong's totem divine pattern is in front of his chest, while Fang's totem divine pattern extends from his right cheek to his neck. Even if he doesn't use his power, there will be a faint blue pattern. The totem pillar in the tribe was found by me from the abandoned ruins of the Eternal Mountains. It was already dilapidated. 3 years ago, after Fang became a totem warrior, the spirit of the totem spirit became even more corrupted. A few days ago, during the festival, the tribe prepared for several months. Wu looked at Xia Tua and said, "Fortunately, the spirit of the totem seems to be improving, and you have gained recognition from the totem." Upon hearing Wu's words, Xia Tua immediately took over the words and said, "Totems need to be worshipped, otherwise they will wither. Therefore, the tribal power needs to gather. This is the guidance given by the totems, otherwise it will be difficult for the tribe to conceive totem warriors. To become a totem warrior, one must activate the totem and use it to outline the totem divine pattern in order to absorb the energy wandering between heaven and earth. The completeness of visual totems also determines future martial arts achievements, and the strength and decline of tribal totems also affect the birth of totem warriors." Looking at the murky gaze of Wu, Xia Tua felt that he needed to add more fire and continued, "According to the guidance of the totem, if the tribe cannot obtain precious blood and food sacrifices, then at most 2 years later, the totem will completely wither, and the entire tribe will also collapse. What the leader said is true." At this moment, a strong and wild smell of blood rushed into the cave. It was Hong, who led the hunting team back from hunting, with a hint of blood on his body. "It's the clan leader." Xia Tua stroked his brow and said weakly. "Yes, leader. Not bad, if the totem cannot be awakened again, it will completely wither for at most a year." Looking at Hong's gaze and towards Wu, Xia Tua felt a bit uneasy. "I am the leader of the clan, okay. The totem gave me guidance to integrate the tribe and awaken the totem by harnessing the power of the entire tribe." Without hesitation, he immediately brushed off a wave of presence. With digging a well in front of him, Hong had no doubts about his words and cast his gaze on him. Xia Tuo's eyes were still fixed on the witch, and his heart was like a mirror. If he didn't get the support of the witch, his clan leader would be a puppet. The leader has received the guidance of the totem, and the great totem will lead us toward strength. At this moment, Xia Tua wished he could hug the old man and give him a kiss. The old man Wu was simply too cute. "Just call him the leader, it's just a nickname. Our clan's leader doesn't care." End of this chapter. Chapter 6, Big Up, recommended tickets required. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6, Big Up, recommended tickets required. Wu. Witch. 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 When the golden mist hung down from the sky outside the cave, the valley suddenly became chaotic. The panicked cries of the tribe caught the attention of Xia Tua and his companions. The totem pattern on the right cheek of the female warrior Fang's face flickered with a scorching blue light, and she carried a woman slightly smaller than her on her back, bleeding profusely. "Wu, on our way back from collecting sweet potatoes, we were attacked by a Fang armored beast, and the sparrow was seriously injured. The wind lowered the person on his back, and a bloody aura filled the cave." Xia Tua saw a large, bloody hole on the right side of the bird's belly, revealing its internal organs. Due to excessive blood loss, the bird's face was pale and had fallen into a coma. The blood hole is pierced by the fangs of the tusked armored beast, which is very fierce, resembling a bull, covered in scale armor, and its fangs are like sharp knives. Wu Lai approached the sparrow, stroking it with his big hand about a fist away from its body, muttering in his mouth, and his face showed twisted snake-like patterns. The mysterious power was generated in the hand and integrated into the wound of the sparrow. As soon as it was seen, the blood-stained wound began to slowly heal, and the blood stopped flowing. The breath gradually stabilized. After finishing all of this, Wu seemed to have exhausted his strength and stood up trembling. He found a piece of animal skin deep in the cave that outlined a mysterious pattern and pressed it against the bird's wound. The forest is not far from the tribe, how could there be the appearance of tusked armored beasts? Seeing the tribe members taking the sparrow down, Hong couldn't help but ask in a voice. Fang also had scars on her body, and the previous fight left her with lingering fear. She shook her head and said, "It should have run out from the depths of the mountains. These guys live in groups, and it's rare for them to appear alone. Even adult tusked armored beasts, such as totem warriors in the stone-breaking realm, have to hide and walk. It's hard not to see a herd of beasts coming outside the tribe." Hung furrowed his brows, his face turning ugly. Xia Tua sat in front of the fire, restrained his mind. The bloody scene just now made him a bit uncomfortable, but fortunately he quickly covered it up and was not noticed by Hong and Fang. For Hong's speculation, the wind is not certain. The tribe has been collecting sweet potatoes in the bamboo grove for many years, and this is the first time a tusked armored beast has appeared. Let's go and take a look. There must be a reason for the appearance of the Fang armored beast. After listening to the communication between the two totem warriors, Xia Tua felt that he couldn't stay in the tribe. To become the chieftain of the tribe, he needed to work hard. Leader. Xia Tuo's words made Hong hesitate a bit. I am the leader of the tribe. If our people are in danger outside, how can we hide in the tribe? His words immediately caught the eye of Hong Hifeng. Xia Tua stood up and bowed to Wu, saying, Wu is resting well. As the words fell, he took the lead in walking out of the cave. Hong and Feng looked at Wu and found him with his eyes closed, as if he was asleep. They then glanced at each other and quickly followed Xia Tua. The Jiaolin forest is not far from the tribe. After leaving the valley, take 2 turns along the winding mountain road. The grass and trees here are low, growing like taro. Sweet potato. Although the taste is astringent, it is the main food for the tribe to fill their stomachs. After all, the hunting team does not always harvest, and obtaining meat requires the young people of the tribe to eat it closely to maintain their vitality. After leaving the valley, Xia Tua took a long breath and saw the endless mountains, endless vegetation, and primitive desolation. In the distance, a layer of blue mist filled the sky above the mountains. Outside the valley, the dense grass is lush and tall, with various vines intertwined and tangled. At first glance, there seems to be no way to go, but fortunately, Hong leads the way and his stone knife slashes down horizontally, splashing green juice. However, strangely, these chopped weeds quickly healed at the wound and then grew again at a speed visible to the naked eye. That's it here. The ground in the forest is covered with a brown vine, densely packed like a group of pythons, hanging from tall trees. Xia Tua saw a dumping patch of grass and trees, with thick and thin shrubs breaking along his waist. The soil flipped over, leaving blood stains and many sweet potatoes scattered on the ground. Be careful. Hide your body in the lush grass and observe towards the outside. Be careful. At this moment, Xia Tua suddenly felt a heat in his chest, and a faint blue light appeared in a daze. A feeling of panic came, and he then grabbed Feng and Hong with his big hands and retreated towards the rear. Run! Roar, roar! Boom boom! Boom boom! In the forest, wild beasts roared and their voices shook the sky, causing the earth to tremble. Large areas of vegetation were dug up and splashed everywhere, with more than 10 figures converging into a torrent, crushing the vegetation and moving forward. Fang Armor Beast Clan. The leading tusk beast is 3 meters tall and 5 or 6 meters long, with 4 legs like pillars. Every step it takes makes the mountain shake. The 2 tusks are 2 meters long, blood-stained, and the soil is flying, pushing the plow forward horizontally. Playing big. Xia Tua ran desperately. Even if he was a totem warrior, he couldn't defeat the sharpness of these beasts. He shouted at the 2 people around him. Hong and Feng, hurry back to the tribe and guard the valley entrance. Leader, you. What nonsense. Hurry up and go back. I'm the clan leader, it's important to guard the valley well. Be careful, leader. I'll make a sound, primitive people are real. Watching Hong and Fang run along the path towards the valley entrance, Xia Tuo slapped his forehead. Let you pretend to be bigger. Let you pretend to be bigger this time. I want to give myself a big mouth, but I'm afraid of pain, so I'll just forget about it. Xia Tuo's body collided with the wild grass in front of him, and he heard a whooshing sound in his ear. Behind him, more than 10 Fang armored beasts came crushing him. He was a totem warrior, but his strength had not yet reached the level of the heavens. These big guys behind him, even if he pulled out the members of the clan, were just enough. Apart from the largest leader, there were also 3 adults. Comparable to 4 totem warriors in the cracked stone realm. Compared to the Fang armored beast, the stamina of a single totem warrior is inferior. Even if they can defeat a Fang beast, the tribe will ultimately suffer. His soldiers are just 3 melons and 2 jujubes, they can't withstand the turmoil. They are all his capital, so he needs to save some money. At least the young master is also the head of the team. Fighting these guys hand to hand is too valuable. I originally wanted to climb the tree, but when I saw a big tree that was thick and thin enough for several people to hug and push it, I gave myself a reason and Xia Tuo ran faster. He didn't dare to run in the direction of the tribe. Once these guys discovered the tribe's people, the cliff would block the door and keep them from leaving. Even if they couldn't break into the valley, they would still trap the tribe in the valley. Leader. Boss, run this way. In the nearby jungle, Hong emerged from a pile of grass and shouted loudly. Xia Tuo turned around and ran wildly, with the grass and trees behind him toppling, the air surging into the sky, the earth trembling, and the soil rolling. Head. Quickly return to the tribe and collect all the stone tools in the tribe. Hong Ji felt a gust of wind rushing in his ear, and Xia Tuo's words rang out. He saw Xia Tuo running towards the small mountain. At the next moment, he followed Xia Tuo closely. Leader, run. Xia Tuo turned his head and saw Hong following him, then suddenly ran ahead of him. Boss, do you want to kill me so that you can inherit the position of my clan leader? End of this chapter. Chapter 7, The Dragon Peeling Formation of Wizard Chen is not effective. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7, The Dragon Peeling Formation of Wizard Chen is not effective. Xia Tuo looked at Hong, who was so big, blocking the way he was struggling to escape. He was originally moved by the small news that he had come back to rescue him, but suddenly disappeared. I'm behind you. I am the head of your family. For a moment, there was a phrase in my heart, MMP, I don't know if to shout or not. Hong is the leader of the hunting team in the tribe. Even if he has 2 more legs, his ability to escape in this wilderness cannot catch up with Hong. Quickly return to the tribe, collect all the stone knives and spears in the tribe, and bury them on the ground outside the valley. Remember, according to the size of the stone tools, the smaller ones should be buried at the farthest distance from the mouth of the mountain valley, with only a little exposure. They should be buried in a row every 2 steps, and the longer the stone tools are buried, the sharper they become. The sound of shouting echoed in Xia Tuo's ears as he shouted to Hong. Looking at Hong's bewildered expression, he knew that what he had just said was for nothing. He had lost sight of his own great idea, which he had learned from blind Chen. Speaking of which, I have to thank the system for letting him watch the storyline of Chen Blind's dragon peeling formation before coming to this world. I remember watching it on 10-cent video. Note that this is not an advertisement. Wu Rang led this Fang armored beast into the depths of the mountain range. Hong ran and said, his voice booming loudly. Obviously, he had encountered such things many times before and was already familiar with them. In contrast, Xia Tuo had more thoughts. The depths of the mountains were a paradise for a group of ferocious beasts. With the strength of the tribe at present, he could only hunt down ferocious beasts in the depths of the mountains that were comparable to the cracked stone realm at night while sleeping and dreaming. Finally, a group of toothless armored beasts ran out from the depths of the mountain range, and they had to eat their fill no matter what. You should know that in the past, even if tribal hunting teams went into the mountains to hunt, they may not have hunted a few fierce beasts in the cracked stone realm in a year. These guys had rough skin and thick flesh, much stronger than humans. Speaking of which, it is still due to the weakness of the tribe. This is a strange circle. High-level ferocious beasts are the foundation for maintaining the vitality of totem warriors. Eating high-level ferocious beast meat can enhance the strength of warriors, but the tribe does not have the strength to hunt high-level ferocious beasts. You distract them, I'll go find the witch to discuss. At this moment, Xia Tua didn't hesitate and crawled into the dense grass. Hong's speed slowed down and climbed onto a giant tree, attracting the Fang armored beast chasing after him. Boom boom boom. Under the impact of the Fang beast, the giant tree collapsed, and Hong opened his arms like a big bird, jumping up high and grabbing the hanging vines, swinging towards another big tree. At this moment, Xia Tua circled a big circle and finally returned to the valley where the tribe was located. The first line of sky at the valley mouth had already been blocked with giant stones. After he entered the valley, a group of people pushed the huge rock like a small mountain and once again blocked the mouth of the valley. The appearance of the Fang armored beast made the entire tribe nervous, and Feng and Ren led the tribe members to guard the valley entrance. Gather all the weapons together. Facing the approaching wind, Xia Tua hurriedly said. Xia Tuo's eager voice frightened the tribe members and they all raised the weapons they were holding forward. In an instant, he only felt congestion in his forehead, and his chi and blood churned. Is this heaven going to kill him? The weapons in the hands of the tribe almost made him cry bitterly, and the young and strong were holding rough-shaped stone and bone weapons in their hands. Just take the stone and it can barely be used to smash it. But big sister, what do you mean by taking sweet potatoes? Fang beasts are not vegetarian. The total number of people in the entire tribe is less than 200, and at this moment, there are about 100 young men and women surrounding the tribe's mouth. As for the stone soldiers he took, forget it, Xia Tua gave up. Chen Blind's dragon peeling formation seems to be out of the question. This is to force him to amplify his moves. Leader. Feng walked forward, and the totem on his right cheek flickered with blue light. He was even taller than him, and his breath was wild. Xia Tua was stunned for a moment. What kind of trees are easy to burn in the wilderness outside? Leader. Seeing the wind with a hint of doubt on his face, Xia Tua understood that these words were spoken for nothing again. He turned his gaze to the reins. The wolf bark tree outside the valley is commonly used for starting fires in the tribe. All the soldiers went out to cut down the wolf bark tree and pulled it out of the valley. Suddenly, Xia Tua gave an order. Not a single one moved. Go quickly. Seeing the hesitant gaze of the tribe in front of him, he angrily kicked towards Li in front of the crowd. Head, clan leader. Li, who was severely hit, looked aggrieved and wondered why it was always himself who was unlucky. For Li's encounter, people around us all dodged towards the side, and we didn't know why the clan leader was so fierce. We didn't dare to ask. Those who do not follow orders shall be expelled. Halfway through, Xia Tuo's eyes rolled and he hurriedly said, this is a guide from the Great Totem. He headed towards the cave where the witch was located, but for some unknown reason, the witch did not appear. In the past, when tribes encountered such situations, they mostly closed the valley and waited for the fierce beasts to retreat. To be honest, the tribe was able to survive thanks to occupying a good place. In the cave, Wu Pan sat in front of the fire, his eyes tightly closed, and he did not respond to his call, as if completely silent. After taking a deep glance at Wu, Xia Tua turned around and walked out of the cave. At the same time, Wu opened and closed his eyes, with a shimmering light in his murky eyes. Arriving at the mouth of the valley again, the giant rock blocking the entrance pushed open a gap, and the wind carried the strong men of the tribe away from the valley to cut down the wolf bark tree. Wolf bark tree is a type of wood with high oil content. The bark is mottled like wolf stripes, and the branches do not have leaves, but rather thorns. Follow me. Speaking to the woman who was still guarding the tribe, he said, whoever can come to guard the valley mouth is not a big or weak person, and they cannot survive in such an environment. Women were used as men, and men were used as livestock. Xia Tua led more than 30 women out of the valley. Clean up the trees and grass near the valley mouth, and also clean up the distant areas. Pointing to the lush vegetation outside the valley, Xia Tua instructed that he planned to burn these tusked armored beasts to death. The valley is considered a gentle open area, with mountains on both sides 100 steps away. Arriving at the gentle slope of a mountain, he grabbed a stone knife from a woman's hand and cut it at a low tree. He quickly cut down the tree and signaled to pull it to the center of the clearing. 6 or 7 trees were cut down in succession, and the wild grass and vines underground were uprooted, revealing a large area of soil and rubble. This was a quarantine zone, so as not to let the fire really get bigger and burn the entire mountain range. With his demonstration, the women behind him understood and began to clean up the grass and trees outside the valley. Each woman was like a Hercules, and he was stunned. The words spoken by Emperor Taizu are universal in any world. The isolation bandwidth is more than 20 steps, circling around the valley, just separated by the gentle slope of the small mountain and the vegetation on the mountain. At this moment, the wind pulled several wolf bark trees from afar, and their branches piled up like a small mountain. They are all piled up in this empty space. After handing over the next matter to Feng Ho, Xia Tua headed towards the distant jungle to see how Hong was doing. Oh, oh, oh. At a distance from a small mountain in the valley, Hong Qiong's strong arms had bulging veins, and his big hands grabbed the vines hanging from the giant wood. His body swayed in the forest like a big horse monkey, and he let out a strange cry in his mouth. Behind him, the Fang armored beast ran through the trees and chased him relentlessly. Ha! Climbing up the branches of a tall tree with both hands and feet, Xia Tua looked into the forest and saw Hong Yui skillfully attracting the Fang armored beast towards the direction deep in the mountain range. Obviously, his worries were in vain. As an elderly member of the hunting team, Hong was already adept at attracting wild animals in this way. Then he silently hid his figure, picked many tree leaves, strung them together with thin vines, and transformed himself into a grass man, hanging behind Hong and the Fang armored beast. Some people, without pushing, really don't know how powerful they are. End of this chapter. Chapter 8, One plan fails and another plan comes into being. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8, One plan fails and another plan comes into being. The thick vines hung down from the tree like pythons. After experiencing several lessons of failing to grasp and fall, Xia Tua finally mastered the skill of being a monkey and hung from a distance behind Hong, watching him run wildly. Suddenly became a totem warrior. Although the process was vague, the process was not important. What was important was that he became a totem warrior. However, the strength of the fist stone realm is far from reaching the level of the heavens, but lifting 1,000 pounds is not a problem. If we go back to the original world, it's definitely Superman. Unfortunately, this is a wilderness, and his strength is really not impressive in the primitive and barren jungle. The strength of the beasts in the primitive jungle exceeds his expectations. Shoo! Grasping a slender vine with both hands, the whole body curled up on it, trying to minimize the beating of the surrounding branches. Although it looks unattractive, this leather jacket with many loopholes on it cannot withstand too much turbulence. As the head of the clan, he was thinking about waiting for this matter to pass. How could he still get a decent piece of clothing? What's the point of exposing his chest and abdomen, and not using the leader as the clan leader? Falling from a distance behind, watching Hong Yu skillfully guide the Fang armored beast, Xia Tua was about to enter the depths of the mountain range. He climbed up a small mountain, grabbed a stone, and threw it towards the Fang armored beast tribe. Boom! The stone pierced through the trees and smashed through the herd in one fell swoop. A 2-meter-sized Fang beast was hit, causing its entire body to shake violently before falling down with a loud bang. Holy crap! Looking at the Fang armored beast that he had smashed down, Xia Tuo was taken aback and realized that he was so powerful. Roar! The underage tusked beast roared in pain, angering the big guys in the tribe. Surprisingly, some people dared to hit their own children, which was quite remarkable. Roar, roar! Boom boom! The leading Fang beast, with its massive body turning around, let out a roaring sound. A strong and wild aura of irritability filled Xia Tuo's body from afar. This time, he could feel the terror of this guy deeply, and he couldn't bear it anymore. His totem warrior was really a food giver. It is said that primitive society was good. In primitive society, men and women ran naked, while men chased women. It turned out that they were all scammers. This place is being chased by wild beasts, and Kikubu is in danger. Roar! As the leader of the ethnic group, his strength is not to be underestimated. He easily swept through the grass, trees, and rocks in front of him. Xia Tuo grabbed onto the vines and swung towards the distance, feeling like the monkey in the zoo who was touching the tiger's butt. The Fang armored beast, which was knocked down by a stone, trembled and stood up, trembling its body. Surprisingly, it followed the tribe with its shiny Fang, ready to tear Xia Tuo apart. Hong, who was howling ahead, turned his head and saw the Fang armored beast chasing Xia Tuo closely. He stared blankly for a while and his figure swayed around the vines, bypassing the herd and chasing Xia Tuo closely. Ah ah! Xia Tuo shouted loudly, as he had also been infected by the people here. He couldn't help but howl, as if he felt very imposing and could give himself a boost. The earth behind him trembled, the giant trees swayed, the grass and trees toppled, the soil scattered, and the child was beaten. The whole family was biting him tightly and not letting go. Roar! The Fang armored beast behind him opened its big mouth and a strong stench almost made Xia Tuo catch his breath. His hands, gripping the vines, slipped and fell 2 or 3 meters. Fortunately, he was agile in his movements and kicked his foot onto the tree trunk, swinging into the distance. This moment was simply too exciting. Just 2 meters behind him was a bloody mouthful, and he could clearly feel the foul smell spraying onto himself. The totem imprint on the chest flickered with blue light, and the power hidden throughout the body tense up, jumping left and right in front of the Fang armored beast. At this moment, he only felt an inexhaustible force, and the totem pattern on his chest hooked a floating airflow outside, supplying him with power. Leader. Hong, who had walked around from the side, appeared next to Xia Tuo and turned his head to crack open his mouth, shouting loudly. I'll leave this to you. I'll go see how the tribe is preparing. Upon hearing Xia Tuo's shout, Hong glared at a giant tree in front of him with his big foot, flipped his body and swung his stone knife towards the tusked armored beast chasing after him from behind. Roar! The leading tusked armored beast let out a roar, with 2 high tusks protruding and colliding with a stone knife. Its body, which was 5 meters in size, trembled violently. On the other hand, Hong's intense impact caused him to sway several vines one after another, and finally hit a large tree before stopping his body. This blow also attracted the Fang armored beast, and as the leader chased towards Hong, the remaining Fang beasts shifted their targets once again. Xia Tuo successfully escaped and headed towards the valley. The behavior of these wild beasts is enough to show that their thinking is still dominated by animal nature, and they do not have much wisdom. Otherwise, it would be a great disaster for the people in the tribe. Outside the valley, the isolation zone had already been completed, and wolf bark trees were also piled up on the open space outside the valley, like small mountains piled up one after another. Clan leader. The reins arrived in front of Xia Tuo, and the cane was covered with animal skin ropes with knots. Xia Tuo spoke up and said, "The more wolf bark trees, the better. It's best to fill up this valley." He had seen the attack power of the Fang armored beasts before, and it was not enough to burn them to death without firewood. This was a matter of his power building in the tribe, so he naturally had to be prepared. After all, these animals are alive. When they run deep into the mountains, can they use their small bodies to block them? There are several ignition positions that need to be done well. After thinking for a moment, Xia Tuo once again said that it is necessary to have a few more people ignite the fire to ensure it ignites. After giving instructions to Ren and Fang, Xia Tuo once again found Hong transformed into a beast guide. Fortunately, these animals were inhumane and were thoroughly angered, chasing them relentlessly. He vaguely felt that the witch was intentionally not coming out of the cave this time. Is it true that this old man is testing him? Outside the tribal valley, a strong smell of oil permeates the air. After the wolf bark tree is cut off, some oil flows out of the tree's heart and converges into small trickles. After Xia Tuo ran back again, he found that his thinking had deviated again. Under such strong grease, there was no need to approach and light it. He threw a few torches in the distance, and the fire would completely ignite. All retreat into the tribe and seal the valley mouth. The wolf bark trees piled up like mountains, filling the vast open space outside the valley. He stood on a distant hill, with the wind following behind him, holding flint in his hand. Under my feet were more than 30 wolf bark tree torches that had been cut out one by one, while the reins on the side were still sharpened with stone knives. When Hong and I introduced the Fang armored beast into this place and ignite the fire, cut off their retreat. After speaking, Xia Tuo picked up a spear that was stuck on the side. It could be considered a stone spear. It was 2 meters long, with thick and thin arms. This was the guy who would anger the Fang armored beast later. It's best to attract a surge of animalistic energy without any trace of clarity, that's the best way. "Boss, I'll go." As soon as the wind spoke, it was interrupted by Xia Tuo. "I'll do it." With a wave of his big hand, he was full of energy and vigorous, and he felt like he had reached the peak at that moment. End of this chapter. Chapter 9, Arson and Burning of the Mountain Totem Manifestation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9, Arson and Burning of the Mountain Totem Manifestation. Unfortunately, at such a windy moment, the people in the tribe didn't see it. Life is as lonely as snow. After a small sigh, Xia Tuo grabbed the nearby stone spear and walked towards the mountains and forests. As long as this big one is done, the days ahead will be easier. Spell it together. Give it a try, the tribe is up to him. At this moment, Hong had already led this group of animals not far from the valley, and the momentum caused by more than a dozen Fang armored beasts shook the earth and made a deafening roar. To be a successful hunter, the first thing to learn is to hide oneself. Xia Tuo, who is tied with wild grass, hides his body in the jungle. With a big hand holding a stone spear in his hand, his veins skyrocket. Be as still as a stone, lock your target, be ready to move, and be as swift as the wind. Ah ka. Puff. Okay, Xia clan leader, who was full of energy in front of the clan just now, was nervous. Fortunately, at such a shameful moment, no one in the tribe saw it. Life is always filled with too much helplessness and uncertainty. Grasping the stone spear in his hand, Xia Tuo selected an immature Fang armored beast and immediately fixed his gaze on its anus. There's no way, the oil smell outside the valley is too strong, and it's inevitable that these guys still have a sense of crisis left. They'll turn around and leave when the time comes. Xia Tuo believes that he should face the wild beasts that can survive in the mountains and forests. After all, he is not living as well as a beast now. At least these beasts dare to run amok, and he can only develop obscenely. Following the selected target along the grass, Xia Tuo clenched his stone spear. He could easily see the large scales on the tusked armored beast's body. His choice to attack the chrysanthemum department was not unreasonable, as it was one of the life gates of this beast. Grasping the stone spear, he quickly ran over the scattered rocks and plants, and arrived at the side of the little Fang armored beast. He jumped up and plunged the stone spear towards the Fang armored beast. Puff! Ow! It skewed. The stone spear that was originally aimed at the chrysanthemum suddenly twisted, but fortunately the effect was also achieved. The power of the Stone Ripper Totem warrior, combined with the stone spear, was more than enough to deal with an underage Fang beast. If it weren't for him being a novice hunter, a spear would easily pierce through this beast. At this moment, Xia Tuo didn't care about anything else. The painful tusked beast suddenly turned its head and its fangs swept over. He took the opportunity to pull out his stone spear and retreated towards the rear. The pulled-out stone spear hooked onto the internal organs of the Fang beast, splattering blood. The beast roared and stumbled to the ground. Run! Previously, he only used a stone to hit him, and this group of animals chased after him relentlessly. At this moment, the hissing of the little Fang armored beast before death completely aroused the anger of the tribe leader. Ow! The leader of the Fang armored beast roared and headed towards Xia Tuo. His figure stumbled towards the valley, only hating that he had lost 2 legs. A trail of smoke and dust rolled behind, and the leader of the Fang beast, Fang, was harvesting the obstacles ahead, driving Xia Tuo to flee in confusion. Running out of the dense jungle, heading towards the direction of the valley, my body was immediately covered in grease. Following the small path left in advance, I plunged into the wolf bark tree. Boom boom. In a fit of anger, the leader of the Fang beast followed Xia Tuo and crashed into the wolfskin tree. Suddenly, the branches in the sky were cut off and flew horizontally, followed closely by other Fang beasts. Ignite! Running all the way to the valley, following the path towards the nearby small mountain, the piled-up wolf-skin branches had long been crushed by the Fang beasts, and the scattered broken branches were flying horizontally, splashing oil all over their bodies. Ignite! Xia Tuo, who ran out of the pile of grease, shouted at the small mountain with all his strength. At the top of the small mountain, Fang held a torch in his hand and threw it towards the valley. The flames curved in the void and fell below, and in an instant, a dragon of fire rose into the sky. Boom boom. The scene exploded, and the oil from the wolf bark tree burst open, setting the prairie ablaze. A few breaths turned the valley below into a sea of fire, and the Fang beasts covered in oil were covered in flames, roaring and rampaging in the sea of fire. Xia Tuo, who ran up the small mountain, was illuminated by flames that made his entire figure incredibly red. A rolling heat wave hit him, and the high flames shot straight into the sky for tens to hundreds of meters. He looked at the scene in front of him with a silly and joyful expression on his face. It's done. However, he suddenly gave a thud. Done. The fire has amplified. Can we wait until the fire goes out, pick up some ashes, and go back to make a cup of calcium milk to drink? Where am I? Who am I? What am I going to do? Why did it become like this? If he were hunting the Fang armored beast, but at this moment, in the raging sea of fire, more than 10 Fang armored beasts were burning with blazing flames, rampaging and roaring wildly. What should we do? Compared to Xia Tuo's furrowed brows, the totem warriors behind him had a look of terror in their eyes. They had not seen the wildfires in the mountains and forests, but had never thought of using fire to destroy the ferocious beasts. There is a natural sense of fear and awe towards fire. In the fire below, the flames were fierce, shining through the sky, and the scorching airflow kept echoing in the valley. Clan leader. Hong lowered his voice as he saw Xia Tuo sitting down in a cross-legged position, with a blue light shining on his body. A blue light flowed straight to the heavenly spirit, evolving into an illusory and hazy figure. Totem. At the same time, in the depths of the totem pillar within the tribe, the fine cracks emitted a hint of blue light, hooking up with the curled-up phantom deep within the pillar. The silent witch walked out of the cave and looked towards the red sky outside the valley, with a hint of surprise flashing in his turbid eyes. Totem worship. Outside the valley, in the flames above the sky, illusory and dark gases gathered together, and then transformed into a beast's shadow, exactly like a Fang-armored beast. A wisp of smoke emerged from the blazing flames, but was not completely burned by the flames. It converged at the top of the flames, entwined together, and re-transformed into the appearance of a Fang-armored beast. The phantom beast's shadow roared on the sky, but could not escape the range of flames. In the illusion, Xia Tuo once again saw the deity stepping on the green dragon. The deity bloomed with blue light and a swallowing sound sounded. The phantom of the Fang beast floating above the flames was taken up by an invisible force, crossed the void and sank into the totem pillar, being swallowed by the totem spirit deep inside. Gudong Gudong. It seems that I have been hungry for too long, and the floating shadows above the flames are devoured one by one. Then, the totem pillar's blue light shines brightly, and some small cracks deep inside the pillar heal under the nourishment of the blue light. At this moment, Xia Tuo felt warm all over his body, as if wrapped in warmth. He seemed to transform into a totem pillar and stand in the cave. The fire was raging, and all 13 Fang-armored beasts in the fire were reduced to ashes, giving rise to 11 illusory totem offerings, which Xia Tuo had not anticipated beforehand. Hong Shou was by Xia Tuo's side, not leaving a single step. The next day, as Jin Wu soared from the east, the blue light on Xia Tuo's body gradually dissipated. He opened his eyes and exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. The land below was scorched black and devastated, even though a quarantine zone had been established beforehand, flames continued to spread outwards. Fortunately, some members of the tribe cleared the quarantine zone again, preventing the flames from completely spreading into the depths of the mountains. Clan leader. Seeing Xia Tuo open his eyes, Hong quickly shouted. Turning his head slightly, Yu Guang saw the eagerness in Hong's eyes, and Xia Tuo couldn't help but tilt his lips slightly. See, your clan leader is still your clan leader. With just a little trick, you killed more than 10 Fang beasts. End of this chapter. Chapter 10, Clan Chief Stabilizes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10, Clan Chief Stabilizes. Under Hong's awe, Xia Tuo waved his hand and said to Hong, walk back to the tribe. Killed more than 10 Fang-armored beasts and, by chance, sacrificed totems, far exceeding the expected goals. Clan leader. 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 Passing through a line of sky and entering the valley, Xia Tuo was surrounded by his tribe members, staring at him with big eyes, both awe and scorching. Killing more than 10 Fang-armored beasts in a row was something they never dared to imagine. In the past, when encountering such situations, they would tightly close the mountain gate and wait for the herd to retreat. After all, the tribe could not afford the cost of totem warriors. This time, they eliminated more than 10 Fang-armored beasts without any consumption. Leader. Leader. Looking at the eager-looking members of the tribe in front of him, Xia Tuo shrank into the hand of the tattered beast robe and shook it. Isn't he risking his life just to gain recognition from the members of the tribe? If you don't want to risk your life, you have to risk your life first. God knows, the first step is not to be fooled to death. His gaze glanced over the tribe members squeezed in front of him, and finally landed on Li. As Xia Tuo walked towards him, Li instinctively squeezed his body backwards. Clan. Pop. Before Li could finish shouting, Xia Tuo slapped his chest and said, call me the chieftain. I am called the clan leader. With a bitter face, Li was very injured. Clan leader. This slap still had some effect. Those who had previously shouted for the leader in the crowd immediately called out their clan chiefs. Xia Tuo was very satisfied, and the clan chiefs were still very easy to talk about. Woo! At this moment, a sound echoed from behind the crowd, and the crowd was quickly separated. The appearance of the witch made everyone bow in unison. Wu Xia Tuo was the same. He greeted the approaching witch, and at that moment, he had already understood that if the witch didn't come out of the cave, he wanted to give him a chance. Fortunately, he seized this opportunity. It can be seen from the scorching eyes of the tribe members gathered around. At this time it was still very successful. As a witness to this scene, Ren smiled and grabbed the animal skin rope hanging from his palm, pulling down a bone ornament hanging from the ear of a nearby tribe member, and tying a knot on the animal skin rope. I need to take note of it. Clan leader. What? Wu's words almost made Xia Tuo dizzy. Where am I? Who am I? This happiness came too suddenly. With the words of Wu, I became stable. Ow, clan leader. Clan leader. Clan leader. Clan leader. Ow. The words of the witch fell, and the entire tribe cheered completely. All the members of the tribe roared and surrounded Xia Tuo, crying and howling. Although the brain melon seeds were buzzing, Xia Tuo grinned, and with the confirmation of the witch, he had the tribe in his hands. The damn system cursed him to die, so let's just wait and see. I just won't die. Alas, I could have lived to be 100 years old. In the cave, Xia Tuo sat cross-legged next to the totem pillar, and he could feel a hint of vitality in the totem spirit inside the pillar. Obviously, more than 10 Fang armored beasts were not devoured in vain. However, at the moment, he couldn't figure out the reason behind it. What was the phantom that appeared after the Fang armor beast was burned to death? After falling silent, his back pressed against the totem pillar, and a warm airflow passed over him. In a daze, his will merged with the totem pillar again, and his thoughts diverged into nothingness like threads. For a moment, he discovered that he had actually seen a scene in the tribe, where the people lived in a cave. No wonder people say primitive society is good. Well, I can't watch anymore. Adjacent to another cave, a child fell to the ground, with continuous slapping on her buttocks. A sturdy woman was tired from the fight and replaced by another man. At first glance, the birth of this child was definitely an accident. Hong was grinding his stone knife in the cave, and the wind outside the cave was looking at him. Faced with the wind's gaze, Hong couldn't help but shiver. I'll go outside the tribe and take a look. Finally, Hong could no longer grind it down. He grabbed the stone knife and headed towards the direction outside the valley. A hint of excitement flashed in Fang's eyes, and he only chased after Hong. In a cave to the west, Li held a sharp bone dagger in his hand and stabbed it towards a mural resembling a figure on the mountain wall, muttering words. Let you kick me. Thoughts wandered over the entire tribe, and wherever there were members of the tribe, Xia Tuo sensed them. In a daze, he felt as if every member of the tribe had an invisible thread attached to the totem pillar. Spiritual beliefs. A kind of enlightenment lingered in his heart, and after waking up, Xia Tuo fell into contemplation. The totem was the spiritual sustenance of all the members of the tribe. But that's all. There is an atmosphere of mediocrity in the tribe, even among witches. Perhaps the tribe had made efforts a long time ago, but without the birth of new totem warriors for several years, the tribe was unable to expand outward, and this enterprising mindset gradually turned into a defensive one. This kind of scene is not what he wants. Even if he absorbed more than 10 Fang beasts as sacrifices, it was far from enough for the totem spirit, and his life and death crisis still hung on him. Besides, he asked himself that he was not a master who would rather die than surrender. Unfortunately, the system. If he hadn't threatened him in the first place, he might have knelt and licked long ago. If God were to give him a chance, he would have to take control of the system, and now he can only rely on himself. After sighing, in the dim light, Xia Tuo's eyes sparkled like wolves who had discovered their prey, and it was enough. Wu, the spirit of Totem has given me new guidance. Stepping out from the depths of the cave and approaching the campfire, Xia Tuo spoke to the witch, his big hands manipulating the roasted meat on the fire. This was the Fang armored beast he had previously pierced through the chrysanthemum tribe in the primitive jungle, which was dragged back to the tribe by Hong. The tusk beast, which is more than 2 meters long, can also be regarded as an extra food for the tribe. Naturally, it is the most essence of the whole tusk beast that gives Wu and his food. Wu's eyebrows and eyes opened and closed. He did not follow Xia Tuo into the depths of the cave, but he noticed the momentum emanating from the totem pole just now. When I was young, I walked out of the eternal mountains for witchcraft and saw some scenes outside the mountains. It was not easy for our human race to pass down in this wilderness. Upon hearing this, Xia Tuo was taken aback and then reacted, saying, Tuo must remember the teachings of witchcraft. The tribe is also where I settle down. Wu nodded, his eyes narrowed again, and he landed on a piece of broken animal skin in his hand, seemingly silent in the contemplation of witchcraft. Xia Tuo flipped over the animal meat on the campfire and walked out of the cave. The tribe had gradually dispersed, and as dusk approached, the sky and earth gradually dimmed, giving a sense of oppression. The scene in front of him couldn't help but excite him, as if seeing a bloody mouth under the night sky about to swallow it at him. End of this chapter.